Hello lovely friends, here's a sneak peek of today's pouring acrylic paint technique. Here's a sneak peek, and I just want to say thank you so much to my lovely subscribers and members, you really help. And a big shout out and thank you so much to Happy Tiger for my blessings. So today is another Talent Tuesday. My amazing talented friend and artist Kim from Kim's Art Alchemy is up next, so please check out her channel. So today I've got some abstract art for you, and I've turned it into a little tutorial to give you some hints and tips. So here's the split cup. Split cups can be anything with 2 or more chambers in it. If you're in the UK, the range sell them for under £2 per split cup, which is really reasonable. So the colours I've used today, really simple palette of the 2 reds and the pink, and I just had to show you a sneak peek of our new venue with that beautiful wisteria. And look at these paintings. Some of them had a bit of silicone in, so you can see how the cells arrived in their paintings. So I was so proud of my students, and I wanted to give it a bit of a demo today just to go into the split cup in more detail, because that workshop was on 3 different techniques, and this today is on just the one technique. It's the split cup technique. So I'm using a black base just to begin with, and I always make sure the fluidity of the base is very similar to the paints that are going to go on top of it. Sometimes it's quite nice for the paints to sink a little bit, so you might have it a little bit more fluid, and sometimes you might want to keep the paints on top, or in this case on top of the spinner. And so you'd make the base paint very slightly thicker than the other paints, and you have different results each time, and depending on which technique you use as well, you have a different outcome. So if you follow along and you've got any questions, please let me know in the comments below and I'll answer them as best I can. So today with the black, I'm starting off layering with red first. Now this red is quite a bossy red, it's quite heavy, but it's in the drip test the same consistency as the other 2, and I'm really loving just a really simple palette. So you can see I put in the fluorescent pink next, and then the crimson. If I had a white base, it would have a completely different outcome again. So I'm using a black base just to show you, and I'm using a little bit of my Australian Floetrol in there on top of the other colours, and just scraping it off with my stick, just adding it in however you want to add it. So I think that's enough for today, because it's quite a small canvas, and this circular canvas in this artwork is 6 inches circumference. So I'm pinching the cup just to allow, in these silicone cups, a quite controlled way for the paint to come out. And you can see that white is coming out initially, and I'm using very small circular movements just to go round and round to form this pattern. Now when you see other split cups, a lot of people tend to continue doing that throughout the whole painting, but I'm looking for a bit of negative space in this painting. And the reason why I want negative space is because I want to see black in between, and when you stretch the paint out, your pattern that you create with the split cup becomes stretched and bigger. Now one of the things with fluid art people often think, and in my recent workshop I discovered again, was that we tend to create a really lovely image or a really lovely pattern, and we want to keep that pattern, but because of the nature of fluid art, we need to put more base paint down, or we need to stretch it and move it in order for it to settle, and the more paint that you have on there, the less likely you are to keep the form of your pattern. And in stretching it, it also does lovely things to the colours and the patterns. So it's one of those art mediums and ways of using paint that is quite unpredictable. I love it for letting go. I love it just for the process, for feeling restorative, and for having fun and doing something together, and for creating the most beautiful abstract art. Fluid art is just such a joy and such a healing way of painting, and I do love the creations that come out of using the paint and the different experiments along the way. So what I'm doing here is I'm tilting the canvas very slightly, and I'm using my hand to catch a little bit of the paint at the bottom and to tease it very gently along the canvas and down. It's one of the best ways to make sure you've got coverage on the outside, which is something that people tend to forget about. People tend to be very used to having form on top of the canvas, and they forget with fluid paint that it tends to go and run down the side. So when you're using acrylic and pouring paint, that's something you need to keep in mind. Now when I'm looking at my pattern here, I'm quite enjoying the top, but I don't like the bottom. So I'm going to do something that's a lot of my students and a lot of people that I know and a lot of my friends don't like doing until they've been doing it a while and they realise that it's okay and you can use the paint, is scraping part of the canvas. But first of all, I'm using my heat gun to see if any cells pop up, especially with the Australian flow trial bit. I think my Australian flow trial's gone off a bit. It's been used a lot and other paints fallen into it a little bit. So I'm going to scrape that part of the pattern and I'm going to do it again. And it just shows you, A, that you can always change and move around your fluid paint. And also, you don't have to keep the whole thing. If you look at Rinska Downer, she's always brilliant at scraping parts of her paintings off. And I always used to think at the beginning, oh my God, how's she going to fix that? Or how is it going to be? But if you use good paints, and it doesn't always have to be expensive. This black base paint is from the Works. It's fantastic. And I'm going to do a video on this actually. It's so good. Since doing the Shelley art course, I've tried so many house paints and I found that this is the cheapest and the best quality for me to use as a base paint. It works with all my paints. And it's only £6 for a litre, which is brilliant. Okay, so you can see I use my bamboo stick to scrape off part of the painting, and I'm using the black base paint again just to put enough paint next to the paint that I'm thinking of keeping and enough on the canvas so when I do my next split cup now, it will fall really nicely and evenly on that base paint, and I'll be able to flow it and move it. Something I've been experimenting a lot with recently is using different techniques and different cups on one painting rather than just doing the one and then allowing that to be stretched out. Someone that comes to mind when I think of that is Kathleen from Cos Creations. She does flip cups 2 or 3 on a canvas to create a landscape. So go and check out those channels, won't you? Kathleen, Cos Creations. Yeah, absolutely amazing. So August, my lovely friend August from August Acrylic Art, has done a split cup recently, which I absolutely loved. Please go and check out his painting. I'll put his link to his channel as well in the description below. So I'm really carefully just allowing the split cup paint to just fall out of the cup. And I know it's hard to see at this angle here, but you'll just notice the action that my hand is making around a circle, and now I'm moving it round very slowly and gently just to create the pattern that I want to see. So enjoy the rest of the split cup painting, and I'll be back towards the end to show you the results. So I'm pretty much done now with this painting. I've made sure that I've stretched it out to bring the pattern up that I really like. Pretty happy with this. It reminds me a bit of a rose, the centre bit, and I like the negative space. I think I'm going to try this again with more negative space, and then I'm going to try it again with just literally covering the canvas just with the split cups, so stay tuned for that. So I hope you enjoyed my students' paintings at the beginning. I'd love to know the acrylic pouring that you're doing at the moment. Are you doing any fluid art techniques that you'd like to share? Please let me know what you think about the colours and the pouring in this video and what you're thinking of doing at the moment. Has this been helpful for you? I really hope it has. I love this one. I hope you're having a great day. Thank you so much for being here and supporting me as always. Let me know what you'd like to see next, and let's go and see what Kim's created. Please check out her channel and give her some love. She's got some amazing artwork. You'll be so happy you did. So keep shining, and don't forget that your art is a very special piece of you. Hope to see you again soon. Bye.